Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I don't know if it's morning for you or night, but welcome to another episode of JamTalk. Now, JamTalk are 30-minute interviews that I do periodically with amazing Jamaicans in the diaspora who are doing amazing work to benefit Jamaicans at home and abroad. Now, this episode is a little special. Although you'll be watching this after the month of love, which is February, this episode is extra special because this is our love edition. And so I am Rachel Dolcine. I am the chair of the Jamaica Diaspora Worldwide Organization Task Force. You see on the back logo there. We'll say JD Watt in this conversation just to make it easier. Saying all those words all the time can become a tongue twister. And I am interviewing today Mr. and Mrs. Gordon. And today we're going to talk about their journey in doing community work together as a couple. They have not always done work in the same arena, but they have done it together as a couple. So we want to talk with them today about what that has been like for them as a married couple and any advice that they can give. So this is our Jam Talk Love Edition. Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Gordon.
Thank
Hi.
you. Thank you.
How are you?
Pretty good, doing well.
Yep, we are.
So thank you so much for joining me. And for those who are watching, first names are David and Beverly Gordon. I say Mr. and Mrs. Gordon because you know how it is when you're raised as Jamaicans, you got to give that respect. So for the interview, we are going to go with David and Beverly. So thank you both so much for joining me. So I want to start at the beginning of your love story. So where are you from in Jamaica? Both of you. Are you from the same place or you're from someplace different? Where are you from?
Well, I'll let Bev go first because she has a difficulty in identifying that place. So I'll go through the difficult. I'll let her go through the difficult part first. Mine is easy.
Okay, so I was born in Kingston, Jamaica, but we moved from Kingston when I was a baby. So I lived in Linstead for most of for part of my childhood. And then we moved to London, England, when I was 10. And I stayed there until I was 19, 20, somewhere there. Went back to Jamaica. Was in Jamaica for a while, about 5-6 years, and then moved to the United States. So I am so Jamaican at heart, but I've actually spent more years outside of Jamaica than in Jamaica.
Wow.
So that's my story. And then I also claim Lucy, which is where my mother is from, and I'm Sentan, where my dad is from. Right, so that's my. So I'm just Jamaican, not Kingstonian or Montego Bayan or whatever. I'm Jamaican.
Okay, now I see why your Jamaican history is a little complicated.
Exactly. And that's why I let the complication go first. I was born in. I'm a Kingstonian. Okay. Up to this day. I still have my problems with my H's and my A's. So
okay.
I'm purely Kingstonian, born in Trenchtown. When I understand that I was delivered at UC Hospital, so University of the West Indies, of course. But yeah, I've been in Kingston all my life, and that's it, plain and simple. No, I'm in the United States, but
right.
Came here in 1980, but plain and simple.
Oh, wow. You've been here a long time.
Yep.
Okay, so Beverly, all over here, there, everywhere. You're
exactly.
How did the two of you meet?
So I was in nursing school in Kingston, because when I went back to Jamaica, I went to college in Jamaica, Northern Caribbean University. It was then West Indies College. And for the nursing program, we had to spend part of the time in Kingston. So I was in Kingston, and a friend and I started a singing group. And we were in the process of forming this singing group. And one day we went to the cafeteria at the hospital and we met this young man who had a guitar, and we started talking to him, and we got him to agree to come and be a part of the group. And then he said, I have a friend who plays even better than me. And so we said, well, bring him. And he brought him. It was this gentleman.
Okay, now guitar player. Okay.
And so that's how we met. We were in this singing group together.
Yeah. So yeah, I joined the group and started playing for them, and then I started to notice, she was actually the leader, and most people are intimidated by leaders, but I certainly was not, because she had more qualities in addition to the leadership qualities, so that I was attracted to. So yeah, eventually we talked, and there it happened.
Okay, now David, I need to hear about these qualities. What are these qualities that attracted you to Beverly?
Well, she was extremely smart, but she was amazingly beautiful. She had a good voice. She had an outgoing personality. We had very good conversations, and conversations not only about the present, but about the future, about dreams and ideals and ideas. And she had nice legs too. And and yeah, I mean, so all of that combined, yeah, and she was the group that they had was a Christian gospel group.
Okay.
So so she had I was a Christian also, and she was, so that that gelled kind of everything. She was very God-fearing, and matter of fact, she was a better Christian than I was, and probably still is.
I don't know about that.
So Beverly, when David started noticing your legs and your personality, and that you were a great Christian, you had a nice voice, was it mutual? Did you initially at first, or were you like, sir, are you lost?
No, see, this was the interesting thing, because in this case, I mean, it was mutual.
Oh,
it was mutual. Okay. But the only difference is I played coy at first.
Of course.
Yeah, because of the British upbringing.
I don't know about that.
They said the joy is in the chase, right?
Yes.
All right. So when did the two of you get married?
December.
That long, huh?
1979.
Wow, that's the year I was born.
December 1979.
I was born in November 1979. You guys,
wow.
December what?
December 9.
Oh, wow. That's like 3 weeks after I was born. That's
amazing. My goodness.
We've been together 40 plus years. I'm not going to I guess I can do the math, but.
Yes. We've been married 42 years.
Yes, because I just turned 42.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's 4 decades plus.
Yes. Yeah.
So in both your families, were long marriages something that was normal in your family? Like, I mean, I think really 40 plus years of being married nowadays, I think it's such an amazing, I don't want to say accomplishment, but you don't see that very much sometimes. And I always, as someone who's married myself, I always admire married couples who've been together for a long time and still are happy together. Like the ease between the two of you, the jiving, you can still see that you guys are still very much in love with each other. So is a long marriage something that's in your family, or that's just something that you guys made a commitment that no matter what, you were sticking it out?
Well, for my parents, I have, it's just one marriage. Matter of fact, I have a cousin who was telling stories of when my father was young and my mother was young, and how, how they started together. And so yeah, they were together ever since I knew myself. They got married, and then I was born, and they were together until my father died and my mother died also. But they were forever together.
Oh wow, okay, Beverly.
Yeah, and my parents were married. Well, my dad was married before. His wife died, and then he married my mom, and they stayed together for all their life until my dad died.
Wow.
Mm.
So you both have a legacy, a family legacy of really sustainable marriage, which is amazing, I think. And I know, I've been parts of conversations where people talk about Jamaica and marriage in Jamaica, and that they even had a report, I don't remember which newspaper, that marriages were on the decline, that many people were not getting married in Jamaica anymore. I'm part of a very large Jamaican family, and even though my grandparents were married until my grandfather died, it's very common to see folks together but not married for like years and years and years. And so it's always, for me as a younger Jamaican, to really I really treasure and honor when I see Jamaicans who have long marriages, because sometimes you don't see that very often, depending on the family you're from, and even the community you're from. Strong marriages, or marriages as people that stay together for a long time. So that's good. And I'm happy to hear about how you guys met, how you started, and that 42 years later, that no one's in jail, you're still together, everybody has their relationship. That you're still very happily married, because I think that's really important, right? It's one thing to have a commitment. The other day I read something that said that commitment is keeping your word even after the feeling that you had when you made that commitment has passed. Right? So, sometimes you get married and you're in love, but you're very optimistic. And then life happens. You have children that you raise, you may have jobs, you both grow. And sometimes that feeling you initially had that led you to get married sometimes comes and goes, but staying committed to, making a commitment before God that till death do us part, you're going to stay committed, I think for me, it's good to see. It's very good to see and very encouraging to see. I didn't know you guys were married so long. As long as I am old.
As long as you've been.
Yeah.
As long as I've existed, like that's almost 50 years. I think that's amazing. I think it's really amazing. So congratulations on that. And now I know I won't ever forget. We anniversary 3 weeks after my birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've learned about how you met, how you fell in love, how you got married, how long you've been married. I want to talk a little bit about the community work. And I know that, let me not say I know, let me ask. Has there ever been a time in your marriage when you've done community work together? I know now you guys have, you're doing two distinct, different work in the community, but was there ever a time in your marriage when you did work together as a couple?
Yeah, and the family life. For years, we were family life leaders at our church. So, our church has a department, our ministry, that's called Family Life. And so we were the family life leaders, and we worked together with married couples. We did marriage retreats, marriage support groups, that type of thing. And we did that for years. As a matter of fact, we're not really done with that. But yeah, so that was very enriching. It actually helped us, because as we were helping others, the things that we did spoke to our relationship as well. And even, when we did the retreats, we were able to benefit from the retreats as well. So that was a ministry that we did together. That was it was enjoyable. It was fun. And also it was very enriching for us as a couple as well.
Yeah. Yeah. The truth is that we did it together, but she was leading and I was following.
Here's the thing.
I love David already. I'm like, yeah, you go on now.
Here's the thing with David. He's really the leader, but he leads in a way. Well, let me use a biblical example. You know how the Bible says, the husband should be the head of the household, and women sometimes chafe against that, the idea of submission. But really, where the scripture describes submission, it talks about how we submit to Christ.
Right.
And so, if Christ loves you if Christ is loving towards you, and he protects the church, he takes care of us, he's everything that's good to us. So if a husband models that type of loving, then the wife has no problem with submitting. What's there to argue with?
Yes.
So I think that's how it works. So
yes.
And I really have had nothing to complain about. I have nothing to complain about in terms of submission. Now, that is not to say, life in general, we've had difficulties and challenges and what have you. But in my mind, it never really occurred to me that we wouldn't meet the challenges together. So we're gonna have challenges, but it's gonna be us working it out together. And just kind of, or I think that our whole commitment to each other is kind of bound up also in our Christian commitment to God. And so it's not a duty, but it's a relationship.
Right.
A relationship that keeps growing and moving and changing, which is another thing. I think that married people need to understand that life shouldn't be stagnant. Change is important, always changes. And you doing something and growing and moving separately and together.
Did you, and I'm glad you brought that up, Beverly. So did you both, would you say that you've both kind of grown at the same pace as individually as people, or was there a point where one may have grown maybe more than the other? And how did you handle that in your marriage? Because I know different rates of growth happen in marriages, and people, I often hear sometimes when married folks get divorced, they'll say, oh, we grew apart, or we became different people. And I'm just like, well, isn't that what part of growing is, that you grow into somebody different, and we have to learn kind of how to adapt to that. So is this something that you found to be a reality in your marriage, of you growing differently at different rates, and then how did you kind of manage that?
I think growth, the idea of growing and growth is so broad and so wide. As you get older, you get wiser. You change. For example, I changed my ideals for career. When I first met Bev, I wanted to be a psychiatrist. That was my plan. I did go to university and did psychology, but during that time I changed to business. Now I'm in business. So growth also involved changes, and I'm comfortable where I am now, but during all of that process, it didn't create a separation. So it could have, and this is part of the I guess the not resistance, but Bev is a psychologist, right? And when we first met, the ideal, the dream was that both of us were going to be in the mental health field. And over time, she has been driving me to continue my studies in that area. And that has been, sometime a disappointment for her in times past, to realize that I'm not still going in the direction that we both agreed that we would go into. But then during that time, I saw, my abilities and my gifts and all that kind of stuff leaning towards business, leaning toward in a different direction. And so in a way, she had to be patient and understanding. And I had to not fight against her wishes, by allowing her to still encourage me, but gently say to her that I feel something different. I'm moving in a different direction. And gradually I had to be careful not to just put down her suggestion or her motivation, but at the same time, I had to be careful to live up to my dreams and my potentials and where I see myself is going. And she has supported me, even though, at sometimes I think that in the times past, she has been disappointed because our original ideals, were not met. So I think that is the growing process, to be understanding, to be supportive, to not to lose past ideals, but at the same time to grow into something new,
and to allow each other to grow separately, because to love someone is not to own them,
right?
And so to love someone is to actually want them to become their best self and fulfill their own potential, not to satisfy my needs, but really, we want each other to be fulfilled, together and separately. And so, God is good. We figured out ways of doing that.
Well, I think it goes back to the example you gave before, Bev, when you quoted a scripture about David loving you as Christ loved the church, and keeping God as the North Star in a marriage, and really trying to reflect those qualities, those fruits of the Spirit, those qualities that are really fundamental to Christianity, fundamental to having a relationship even with God, because they go hand in hand, right? When I was in Sunday school, they used to say the cross goes down and up and outwards, right? So your relationship with God is should also be reflected here, and how you treat people in your relationships here also reflect your relationship with God. So I think what I'm hearing is that keeping centering yourselves around the plans and the will that God had for your lives meant that the plans that you may have thought you had in the beginning, because you were young and starry-eyed and thought that you knew it all, you got it all together.
Right.
But when you submit, not just to each other, but to God, those plans may change. And you have to trust that because you're with someone who, you love each other, God is your North Star. That's always what you go back to. Is this in line with not just our biblical principles, but is this in line with what I feel like God wants me to do with my life? And giving each other space to do that, I think it's so very important. And I know not everyone watching this is a Christian or follows Christian principles. I do, for our family, we do. So that's a really good example of what a Christian marriage may look like. Because a lot of times that whole submission piece is tough. But I think the example that you guys just talked about, and the reality of growing apart, meaning that what you initially thought you were going to be or what you were going to do, you allow your love for God and your love for each other to transform and create that space for you both to become who you want to be. I think that's powerful, really, and encouraging for me as someone who's young and married. And sometimes, my husband, I'm like, "What are you doing with your life?" Like what he's like, things that we've talked about, very similar. We've talked about plans, we talked about what we want to do, and then I feel like he's off over there somewhere, like, sir. It's a good reminder, even for me, that God has a plan for his life.
Yeah.
And that as his wife and as someone who loves him, I need to create space and room for that, because it may not be anything like what I think it should be. And just like you, Bev, I encourage him all the time. Remember when? It'll be so nice. Yes. And just like David, he says, "Thank you for, I'm glad that you but he really tries to be very sensitive around not telling me to leave me alone, woman, mind your business." Right. So this is so good, because this is something that for us we're experiencing right now, that growth piece, that piece around feeling like you're growing apart, but not necessarily your relationship, but he's kind of like on his journey, I'm on my journey, and we feel what's happening here. So this is a really good reminder for me that you have to create that and maintain that space for growth.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it's okay to remind and be like, hey,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just know that you may not get your wish. So yeah, this is really good. So when you were in ministry, I know you're doing the marriage ministry, and even now in the work that you do, how did you prioritize? Kind of, because I know there's relationship, there's work, there's ministry, there's other things, business. How did you prioritize? What were some of the commitments that you guys made in order to make sure that you were always prioritizing what was important for both of you?
Well, I don't think I know the answer to that for me. Because sometimes I do get caught up with work. Sometimes I'm all consumed with different projects or whatever. So I'm not sure that I have the proper balance. But and that's to be honest with you, and but I think that naturally there's a natural rhythm in my life. I think that there are times in my life when I'm really focused, I'm really into what I'm doing, and there are times that it's like a biorhythm. I relax and come back to earth and spend the time that I need to, and then I get focused again. So I'm not sure if it's a calculated, these are calculated decisions, but I think it's the rhythm of our life, I guess. That whenever you sense that there is a lack in the time spent with each other, then it comes to your mind, it comes to your heart, and then you say, okay, this needs to happen. But we don't have a method, a written method that says this is how it's done. I think the love and appreciation for each other allows that and allows and invites that kind of adjustment when it's needed.
Well, I think what you just said is a method in itself, that keeping when you realize, oops, I've been spending a little too much time in a particular, whether maybe it's business or volunteering, whatever the case is, and you feel that gap in that relationship, or that kind of lack, you've been lacking or slacking is what I like to say to my husband on a relationship, that you catch yourself. You catch yourself and you're like, oh, okay, I need to now kind of create some time or make some time to kind of nourish this relationship or keep dating, because you two seem like the type who are still dating, because you seem like you're in dating mode. I'm telling you, like I've never seen the two of you together. So I'm just like, wow, like it's just this natural, you guys just have this natural kind of ease with each other. That is really good to see. It really is. But I digress. But so it sounds like, David, that even though it's not like you guys sat down and said, okay, if I get busy with work, let me know. It was always in your mind. Beverly's always in your mind in the relationship. So when you felt like, oops, it's been 2 weeks or it's been whatever, I'm just saying that, like something in you would click to say, oops, I need to go and make some time for some relationship time.
Yeah.
I think that in itself, this natural method, once again, when you have a natural ease because you're with the right person, and you are both committed to making it work and working on your marriage, I think that the method of it just comes. Like, whoops, I haven't seen Beverly in a week.
I actually think that that's part of the excitement of our relationship, because I always say that I think that we have a lot of adventures, and you would think that means that we go rock climbing or something like that. No, it's not like that, but it's not scripted. It's not scripted. It's not, on such and such a day, we're supposed to do so and so, and then we're supposed to do so and so. It's more like, hey, let's do so and so. And then we do it. And then I get excited about the things that we do. And it doesn't have to be something big. It might be something relatively small, but we're taking time out of whatever else it is that we're doing to do this thing. And it feels really exciting to me.
Yeah. Well, you guys feel like friends. Like, it feels like you also have a friendship. Yeah. And I know that the beginning, when David was talking about when he met you, initially it sounds like you guys built a really good friendship. You could talk about anything. You had that rapport. You were in this music group together. So I think that one of the other things that I would say I would also notice about the two of you is, I think what I also see is friendship and not just a love with husband and wife, but you guys are also friends. Because I know folks who are married, they're husband and wife, but they're not friends. Like it's obvious and not. So I think what I see also that ease is that you're friends. You've really gotten to know each other, how you tick. And so the ease of being able to talk about anything and spontaneity, talking David into doing this interview, it's because when I called Beverly was like, oh, I gotta talk to David about it and see, I gotta let me see what I can do.
And then she was surprised when I just said yes right away.
She was quick to say yes. I was like, okay.
She was prepared to do more talking, but
she's like, yes, Rachel, yeah. I'm gonna have to really talk to. I mean, I have to talk him into this.
Yeah, you just never know. And see, I think, like I was saying, this is part of the excitement of this relationship. I don't know which way it's going to go, really. I mean, I know we have a kind of a settled understanding that we're both going to be there, but I don't know how we're going to do the next page or the next chapter. So when I went to him to ask him about the interview, I was thinking he was going to say, and ask me a lot of questions, and then I'd have to convince him. I asked him and he says, okay.
I know. Beverly came back pretty quick and said, yes, he's in. I was like, oh, okay. I guess she don't have to do much. I mean, but I think that with everything that happens in life, because life in itself can be so rough, I think to be able to have someone that you can do this thing called life with, and it's a place where you can find comfort, like you're happy to come home. There's spontaneity. You just feel just comfortable and alive with a person that you got to spend the rest of your life with. I think that's a blessing, to be able to have that and to be able to have that for so long, for a very, very long time. And still, you guys, I would think you're still part of that, music group, playing the guitar and lead singing phase. So that's really good. I love it. I really love this.
Yeah, I think friendship is an essential component before actually going into marriage. I would really recommend it to anybody. Make sure that you and the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with are friends first. It kind of creates a foundation for the rest of the marriage, the romance and all of that. There's kind of a solid foundation to build on. We can talk to each other. We know each other,
right?
Really know each other, and that helps a lot.
I think absolutely. I think that's really important, especially now we're in this age of what I call microwave relationships, where folks jump into things very quickly and they expect things to happen so fast. Like from the moment you meet someone to the whole dating, because you have online dating, right? So online, you meet someone and then you go on a date and then automatically you're a couple. And then there's really no space that people are giving each other to really grow and to become friends. And I know that can happen at different rates for different people, but I agree that it's so important to be friends. And I think for Kira and I, that's one of the areas I think that we did quite by accident. I didn't think we were thinking, we need to be friends first, but we really, and distance played, we had a long distance relationship. So, that also what else can you do but become friends?
Right.
So I really think that having an opportunity to do that really helped during the years when our marriage was really tough, because the whole romance and butterfly feeling was not there. But knowing that this is someone that I knew, this is someone that I had a deep connection with, someone that I was friends with, like we talked about all different types of stuff before we even got married, while we were dating, I think adds another level of helping you to stay committed to get through the rough times. Because the romance part comes and goes sometimes.
Right.
And all you have left is what? And I think if you have a strong foundation as a friend, you have that friendship, regardless. You have that friendship. So I think that is so very true, Beverly. And I know people may think it old-fashioned or whatever the case is, but I don't care. I think it's true. I think it's really important that couples take the time to become friends. And if this is someone that you would not be friends with, why would you marry them? Right? It's almost like if you don't have a friendship and can't maintain a friendship, then a marriage, which is a whole nother ballgame, is probably not the best idea. So now I got all caught up and talk about like I'm having a marriage session. So community work. So
Yes,
Beverly, I know that you are neck deep in JD10, and we'll talk about what JD10 is. David, I know Beverly told me kind of sort of what you're involved in, but I'll let you kind of say kind of sort of what you're involved in. So community work, I would love to hear about the work that you're both doing right now, and also those who are watching and listening, the work that you're doing right now. And then we'll end this conversation with kind of talking about what would be kind of your advice to those of us, like my husband and I, who are also involved in community work, and how do we do it for 42 years and still keep it alive. So I don't know who wants to go first. I'll let you all decide who goes first, talking about what you're doing now.
All right. I am heavily involved in church work. So I am in our organization, we have a hierarchy of officers called, and I'm an elder. I'm the first elder. And so right now, even though that's not always the case, right now I operate like similar to the administrator of our church. We have a little bit over 600 members. And I've been doing this for, I think, about 22 years.
Oh, wow.
It's been a long time. So I'm heavily involved in church work and all the different aspects of it. We do have a community services branch and all that kind of stuff. So I'm heavily involved in that at the moment. And yeah, I mean, yeah, the feeding program is one part of the church. You know? I'm also involved in the PRO for international chapter of the alumni chapter for Kingsway High School.
What does PRO mean?
Public relations officer.
Okay.
Yeah. So Kingsway High School is a Seventh-day Adventist up to, well, it has preparatory school and high school.
Okay.
It's a Seventh-day Adventist high school right there in Osborne Road off Halfway Tree Road. That's a school, that's a high school that I attended. And we formed an alumni association, and we're doing, trying to help the school, help students with tuition, lunch, and all that kind of stuff, and helping the school itself. So I'm part of that organization, and those are my two main, public relations. We're also at the church, or through the church. It doesn't belong to the church, but we also recently formed a 501c3 organization that is going to be helping seniors and youth. We just got that off the ground, and I'm also heavily involved in that. Those are the three main areas for
Okay.
my community services.
So is the seniors, the 501c3, is that in the US or in Jamaica?
It's in the US.
Okay. So they'll be
Yeah.
helping seniors in the US.
In the US,
Okay.
right. The Kingsway is for Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other things that we do through our church that is here in the United States, but our church is probably about 90%, about 95% West Indian and
Okay.
and about 90% Jamaican.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. So if my church work is part of diaspora work.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you're busy.
Yep.
Busy. The best way to stay out of trouble is to stay
Yeah,
busy.
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And I get in trouble easily.
I can tell. It's all over your face.
You can tell, right?
Yeah, I can tell. I just
What I
went
mean?
up to you like, don't forget. Oh yeah, you look like you're always in trouble. For sure.
I met we had in our alumni thing, I met a classmate of mine that was from 1972. And when we met up back in one of the alumni meetings, she said, "Hi, troublemaker." And I guess I was troublemaker from that time. I had no idea.
You've been a troublemaker for almost 50 years.
I know. That's what they say. I'm being accused wrongfully.
Really? No, I think your face is different. You have a troublemaker's face. Just like Leo. Beverly, what I know some of what you got going on, but I'm sure there's more.
Well, right now, my main focus as far as community work and Jamaica is concerned would be JD10. And so I'm the chair of the health task force. And right now we're going through some reorganization in terms of our task force and trying to make it more robust in meeting the needs of identified needs, health needs in Jamaica. And one of our main focus is to provide educational material and a kind of an educational component to healthcare professionals in Jamaica. The idea being that if we identify a particular area of need and we help those who are providing the care in that area, then it will trickle down to provide a more robust and stronger healthcare services for the people in Jamaica. So we do things like we provide what we call jaminars, which are really seminars, and right now they're all virtual because of the pandemic. And also we collaborate with different stakeholders in Jamaica within the health sector. And that's the main thing that I'm doing right now as far as Jamaica is concerned. Here, of course, I continue to work with families in terms of ministry to families. And as David mentioned, most of our church community is West Indian, actually mostly Jamaican. And so I feel that I'm ministering also to the diaspora here in America. And one of the things that really that I've found, I believe that as Jamaicans living abroad, as we say, it is important for us to give back to Jamaica. Yes. It is important for us to do things that will build and strengthen and enhance our Jamaican society at home in Jamaica. At the same time, I think that it is also necessary for us to recognize that there are a lot of us living abroad in the diaspora, and we have needs also. And as we meet the needs where we find them, then I believe that we're still building up the whole Jamaican community. because those of us here in the United States, in Canada, in England, Australia, wherever we happen to be, we are Jamaicans, but we are also having a different experience from the person who's living in Jamaica.
Right.
But we're still Jamaicans.
Yes.
So I believe that my ministry or my work towards people, whether they're here in America or they're in Jamaica, it is still building up our people. And in addition to that, though, there's another dimension. I think that in addition to working for the people of Jamaica, we should work for people in general, because we belong to one human race, one human family, and the needs are not really that different. They're just expressed differently based on culture. And so my mission and my ministry in helping people is really for people everywhere, wherever I find them. And so I do counseling as well. And in my work as a counselor, it's not always for a fee. So I do some pro bono work because there's a need.
Yes.
And I've been gifted to be able to fill that need. And so, God will take care of my finances. Sometimes I just need to do something to help somebody. I also support. I also right now I'm helping to contribute to a school in Jamaica that's separate from JD Tan. It's just my personal thing. Contributing to a school in Falmouth as they're trying to improve their facilities and what have you for the little children, a prep school, and a school in Kenya, which is where one of my classmates is from Kenya. And she runs an orphanage in Kenya. And I also help to support that. Those are some of the things I'm doing.
Lordy, I thought I was busy. I definitely want to be like you guys when I grow up. But I think it's so important that you mentioned about the obligation, and I believe is an obligation of Jamaicans who've had the opportunity to go abroad and have the means, whether it's the talent or the financial means, and Jamaicans in Jamaica who have the means, because there are Jamaicans in Jamaica who have the means to, but for those who have left Jamaica and are abroad, to still keep their eyes toward home. My mom always told us when we were growing up not to curse where we're coming from. She always told us that, because there's lots of stigma and stereotypes that you have growing up as a Caribbean kid in this country. We were teased, just all sorts of stuff, because folks don't understand you have an accent, you may dress different. My mom was very religious, so we had our skirts down to our ankles. So, there were just things that we experienced, and she would tell us, one, not to be ashamed of who you are as a Jamaican, but also lots of times, you want to not be Jamaican because of the experiences you were having. And she would always tell us not to curse where you're coming from, that you always need to make sure that you are helping Jamaicans at home. And whether it's our family or whatever, we saw that happening in our family. But I think that's so important for us to remember. And that's why I started doing the Jam Talks, because I thought it was important for Jamaicans to see the work that's being done and see other Jamaicans that are doing work and hopefully be inspired, because there are thousands of us abroad. Jamaica has brain drain, talent drain. There are thousands of us apart. And even if we don't ever want to set foot in Jamaica again, I think that we have an obligation as Jamaicans born in Jamaica, born from that soil. I was only educated through a little bit of primary school, but for lots of others, they went through university. So you were educated in Jamaica. Like your whole, who you are was formed there. And to leave and not in any way, shape or form, feel that you need to in some way give back, even if it's mentoring, adopting a school, donating to the college or the high school that you came from, but in some way serving the Jamaica, I think is important to remember and important to, I think, hold each other accountable for as Jamaicans. And I say it often, and frankly, it reminded me who gets upset. But as a Jamaican, if you're living anywhere in a diaspora and you are not giving back to Jamaica, I implore you to really do some self-reflection, really about why that is, because there's no reason why our babies in Jamaica should not be able to get lunch or not have access to healthcare. And I know people may say, well, Jamaican government, whatever, that's besides the point.
Right.
The point is people, that these are your people. And that if you can in any way, shape, or form help your people, you should. And you should feel that obligation to do so. So I'm so very happy that you said that, Beverly, because I think that's very important. And we have to remind each other constantly about that and hold each other accountable. Like, seriously, I really, my friends, I give them a whole mouthful all the time about it. And it doesn't matter to me what excuse you have or what you think about Jamaica. That's where you came from. And there's nowhere that you're going to go. My mom, nowhere that you're going to go that's going to be any better. So don't curse where you're coming from. There's nowhere you're going to go. Every country has its issues, its ailments, but you are Jamaican. You are of Jamaican descent, and you should always do what you can to serve and give back to Jamaica. So I think that piece is really important to this conversation, even that we're having, even though it's about love and how to, in a marriage, kind of in tandem, work to make difference in the communities. I think that part is important too, that the both of you haven't forgotten Jamaica, where you're from, even though Beverly's from all over the place.
But it's all over the place, yes, but I'm still Jamaican.
Yeah, she's like, she made that clear, like, look, I may be from all about, but I'm still Jamaican. So I think that's so, and it sounds like for your entire marriage, which we now know is 42 years, you've had that commitment to serving Jamaica and Jamaicans, even if it's through the church that you're with. 42 years of not just being married and maintaining, a marriage and serving in ministry, but you've also kept your commitment to your homeland. And I think that's, for me, that's admirable and encouraging as the next generation behind the two of you. I'm that direct generation right behind you. I think that's important to have that example for us.
I think it's also important to realize what a legacy we have as Jamaicans. Because sometimes we leave the country and don't realize that a lot of what is in us is based on and comes from the legacy and the culture that we have in Jamaica.
Yes.
The strength of character, the willingness to, the ability to pursue. I have, right now, a member of our alumni association, someone who attended Kingsway. She lives in Alaska. No, she lives in Iceland. I'm sorry, Iceland. I have another friend who attended Kingsway, lives in England. So I mean, Jamaicans, anywhere you go in the world,
anywhere
you'll find in the Ukraine,
Yes.
there are people who are studying and in any country you go in the world. And I think that's the part of the spirit of adventure, and that we can conquer and that we can do more than is expected of us. Put us in a situation and we'll get it done. And I think that's what we got from our culture and from our heritage. And so when we're achieving anywhere else, we need to realize that and acknowledge that what we have comes from where we came from. And if we do that, then we have to give back to a culture that we should be proud of, and that we should always give back to, because of what it has contributed to our lives.
Absolutely. I don't think there's really, you both have said it all when it comes to really what is the message to other Jamaicans in the diaspora as it relates to giving back to Jamaica and making sure that you are creating a legacy for even your children to follow. Like my son goes every year with us when we go to a mission trip before COVID, because although he was born here, he knows, his dad is Haitian, I'm Jamaican, but I've told him he's Jamaican Haitian. But we make sure, even though we haven't been able to visit Haiti yet, I've made sure to take him home so he understands.
Right.
Even though you're born here, your heritage is here. Here's where I grew up. Here's where your great grandparents are from. Here's where your grandmother lived. Here's how folks are. How Jamaica is a condition of Jamaica, and here's why I give back, even though I'm hundreds of miles away.
Right.
I'm nowhere near Jamaica. Here's why I'm committed to going every single year for 10 days to give back. Here's why. I think that's really an important example to set even for our children.
Yeah.
Yes.
To understand that. And because at the end of the day, even though he said he's not American, he said he's Jamaican Haitian, but still, it's still important to understand where you're coming from. Because if you don't understand that ties to your identity, that's how so many young people are lost, because they don't understand where they're from, identity, what flows through their veins. David, you talked about our heritage. Anywhere you go in the world, even I've traveled the US extensively, and you say you're from Jamaica, automatically people's face light up. Yep. Normally it's around Bob Marley, but still.
Right.
But they'll, the beaches, or they've been there, or they've heard of it, or the food. Like there's something about Jamaica. I have not met anyone we've been to some far corners of the US that has not heard of Jamaica, heard Jamaican music, know about Jamaican food, or has some kind of peppered me with questions about Jamaica.
Yeah.
So I think you've said something that is so important that I don't think we think about often enough in the diaspora, is that you're at an advantage. You have a privilege being born in Jamaica, because when you go out into the world, people already know. It's almost like there's a new level of respect, a new level of, wow, you're Jamaican. That comes with that. My friends used to tell me, oh, you're not Black, you're Jamaican. Right? There's this thing, this those privilege that comes with, but it's because of heritage. It's because of what the island is known for. And we need to honor that. Yeah. As we need to teach our kids to honor that as well. Yeah. Yes. So that's really important stuff. So as we end out, because I know we went way past the 30 minutes, but that's all right. This is a good conversation. So as we kind of end out, for each of you, what is a piece of advice that you would give to married couples, both whether they're just starting out or they've been together a long time? What is one piece of advice you would give them about marriage and the marriage journey?
All right. Well, she's a marriage counselor, and I know she's going to talk a lot. So let me just get my.
Okay, you just want to get out the way. Okay.
Get my little piece in.
He's going to go first this time.
Yeah, right. So that I don't get left out after she's done. I think one thing that I'd there are a number of things, but the one main thing that I'd advise everyone is respect. If you don't respect the person, then don't get married to them. Through thick and thin, through the bad times and the good times, even when you have an argument, if you maintain that respect, there's a limit as to how far you'll go. There is a parameter that you won't go beyond, because you have that respect for that person. Even when if you don't feel love, but if you respect the person, you will keep them within a certain range, and not let them go beyond a certain distance from you. So I think that is most, at least for me, that is very important, is that whatever I think about certain decisions that she might make, that Bev might make, or whatever I think about her ideas or disagreement or whatever, I still maintain that level of respect for her advice, for her counsel, for her opinion, for her condition, for everything. I maintain that at all times. And so my response, my reaction to anything that she does is still contained within that deep respect that I have for her. I think that is my main advice.
I like that. And when you see me looking at, that's because I'm taking notes. So, and I know you were saying Beverly's going to go on, but Beverly, what is one piece of advice?
Yeah, please, yes.
One, your favorite. What is one piece of advice?
Yeah.
I think he's trying to say that I talk a lot. All right, so the one that he gave, actually, I really like that one, and I agree with that one. But another one that I thought about is communication. Communication has been said to be the lifeblood of a relationship. It's extremely important. Some people think that, for example, that psychologists can read minds. Psychologists can't read minds. So no matter what relationship you're in, communication is absolutely important. Don't assume that your spouse know what you're thinking, or know what you want, or what you need, or what you're feeling. Be assertive enough to state what you're thinking, feeling, or need in a way that's not damaging to you or your spouse. So healthy communication, I think, is critical to relationships. And
Wow.
I definitely agree with David about the respect thing too. No matter what the situation, no matter how angry you are or whatever, that respect will restrain you, to certain boundaries. I agree with that.
So respect and communication. I love those two. And I really love the respect, David, when you said that even sometimes when you may not feel the love, when you have respect, and then Beverly added that respect will restrain you, right? So it really helps to form those boundaries. I was thinking in my head when David was talking, I was like, wow, so in a way, sometimes respect trumps love.
Yeah.
In some situations. So I was like, wow, I wrote that down so I could use it again. And then communication, the lifeblood of any relationship you have. So whether it's a friendship, a marriage, a boss and a subordinate, whatever it is, you're working on a team, communication is absolutely important, the lifeblood of that relationship. No one is a mind reader. And so being able to be assertive and communicate with confidence how you're feeling, what you want, what your needs are, is absolutely important. So I think those two are gem of advice. And like I said, I wrote stuff down so I can use it again, and then I'll sound really smart among my friends. They're like, oh, wow, that was powerful.
42
I
years,
got it from Mr. and
years
Mrs. Gordon. I got it from Mr. and Mrs. Gordon. I just have smart friends. Surround yourself by smart people. You come off as smart. So, oh my goodness, this has been an absolute pleasure to interview the both of you. You two are a lovely, lovely couple. Like I said, I work with Bev and JD10, so I know Bev and Beverly, and I'm calling her Bev. See, David? Beverly. And of course, Beverly knows I love her. So it's been good to see Bev's other half and to see, oh, okay, he's lovely too. This has been really good, and I'm hoping that those of you who are watching and like me growing up may or may not have had the best examples when it comes to marriage, or you may be in a marriage and you need kind of guidance, or you're looking for advice or an example. Tonight we talked about some really deep and good stuff as it relates to marriage. I took notes. I just made 19 years last week. Being married, yeah. So I'm catching up. Catching up. So just made 19 years. But let me tell you, it's been quite a ride. It has not always been easy, and I think sometimes people see us how we are. We're very similar to the two of you. When people see us together, we hear that a lot. But they don't know what happens behind the scenes and the amount of work that goes into making sure that we're respecting each other, we're communicating, that we're still friends. That even when the love is gone, right? We're really talking about agape love, which is God's love is very different than when they talk about this in love butterfly in your stomach kind of thing, right? That's a consistent, no matter what happens, I love you. That we're really reflecting that. It takes work. And on top of all that, on top of maintaining an amazing marriage, you've also been able to commit to Jamaica and the community and your church family and doing all those things, all while keeping God at the center. And that's all that I learned from this interview that I did with the two of you today. So thank you both so much for just also being so transparent and vulnerable with me and with those who are watching this. And I really hope that someone watches this and they're encouraged, that someone watches this and whatever advice they may be seeking, they get it. You're inspired to go do something for Jamaica if you're of Jamaican descent. Get up off your hiney and let's just find something to do.
Yes, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to be done.
Yes. And if you don't know where to start, David and Beverly, I'm sure have a long list of things that you can assist with.
Exactly.
And we can certainly get you in contact with them so you can get something to do as well. So thank you both so very much. Thank you for those of you who are watching this when it premieres. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this on the replay, make sure you press replay so we know that you're watching this after the fact. And that's it for this episode of Jam Talk. I will see you guys again soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.